Hello, BookTube. I have a little mail haul for you on this steamy hot day here in Boston. Starting with this package. Clearly, I have not had the little heart-to-heart chat with a certain someone about attacking the packages before they've been opened. This is a completely fair game once it doesn't have a book in it. so we're going to have to work on that. But in the meantime, we don't have any wrapping, we don't have any tearing noises. We can just slide this thing out. So what is it? This is oh, good. Okay, great. This comes out next year. This is by Pam Houston, and this is Deep Creek, Finding Hope in the High Country. This is natural history by a master, by someone who just does it so beautifully. And that is an Irish wolfhound on the cover. An emotionally wrenching moment in the book. Well, let's see what we have here. Let me describe it to you. This is, I think a lot of you are really going to like this when it comes out next year. How do we become who we are in the world? We ask the world to teach us. In her travels from the Gulf of Mexico to Alaska, Pam Houston explores what ties her to the earth, her 120-acre homestead in the Colorado Rockies most of all. Here, elk calves and bluebirds mark the changing season, winter temperatures drop to 35 below, and lightning sparks a 110,000-acre wildfire in the dry summer, threatening her century-old barn and its inhabitants. Alongside her devoted Irish wolfhounds, Houston learns what it takes to take responsibility for a piece of land and the creatures on it. And this is amazingly good. It's amazingly good. Not only if you're a nature fan, but if you're a dog fan as well. This is some very passionate writing about dogs. I have a tale that I could tell you, BookTube, about two Irish wolfhounds that. Those of you who do it, I don't know how many of you, I think a couple of you have had the experience. Enormous dogs are an experience on their own. Little dogs, I'm learning, these 10-pounders that you can pick up in one hand, they're an experience too. They're amazing. Terriers are amazing. They never run out of energy, and yet they behave well. They handle it well, this chewed envelope notwithstanding. And then you've got the normal ruck of dogs, the 30 and 40 and 50 pounders, the ones that are normal, the ones we think of when we think of a dog. You can walk them on the leash. Push comes to shove, you can assert physical dominance over them. They are much smaller than you, and they know it. On some level, they know it. And they're adorable, and they flop, and they snooze, and they have problems and whatnot. And then you get into a totally new experience, a different kind of experience. When you have a dog who's very big. The very big dogs are an experience on their own. They're amazing. You cannot, first of all, coerce them to do anything. You can't establish dominance over them in any way unless you do it mentally, because they stand on their hind legs taller than you are and are infinitely more powerful than you are. They're infinitely more powerful than most animals that you will meet. And having, like, for instance, in my own personal experience, having two Irish wolfhounds is an incredible experience. You're walking two animals down the street in Boston. You pass, for instance, a mounted Boston police officer, and the power dynamic is completely different. These two dogs alone could kill and disembowel his horse. That's weird power dynamic when you're used to having beagles or something like that. But there's a lot more going on in this book. When the time comes, we will talk about it at length. Let's see here. What's this next one? This is heavy. What is this? Okay, this is out already. This came out in August. Have we seen this already? This is In Good Faith, Questioning Religion and Atheism by Scott Shea. Very big, simple-looking thing. Scott Shea's new book is an essential Abrahamic voice in the current debate about whether religion should play a role in today's world. Of course, books like this, right off the bat, before we're even done with the first sentence. What religion? You're equating your particular denomination of Christianity with religion. More than half the world doesn't believe in Christianity. A huge chunk of that other half is polytheistic. Do you even know that? Do you even care? No, you're saying whether or not religion should play a role in society, but you are perfectly clear on whether or not Hinduism should play a role in society. Perfectly clear. You don't have any doubt at all whether or not there should be whether or not a Hindu priest should be consulted before the laws governing your sewage system are enacted. You don't have any question about that. You would never in a million years send your kid to a Hindu school. That was one sentence. Let's move on here. Like popular atheist authors, Shea argues for reason, freedom, and human progress, but he powerfully rebuts their facile depiction of religion as irrational stories and superstitions. That's sentence number 2. It is not facile to dismiss religion as irrational when it talks about the universe being created by magic. Magic is irrational. It's not irrational to talk that way. It's not irrational to say, well, okay, you believe there was a flood, a great flood that covered the whole world for a year, and that all the animals and human life that currently on the planet derived from the people that you could fit on a boat. All of them. All the gut fungi, all the mosquitoes, all of the dinosaurs, all of the human beings, all of them, all came from that one genetic bottleneck. It's obviously irrational to think that. In stark contrast to those atheist writers, In Good Faith explains why religion and science have both been a force for good and evil. Co-founder and chairman of Signature Bank and a distinguished leader in the business world and Jewish community, Scott Shea delivers a new, thought-provoking contribution to the field of ethics and religion. Okay. All right. Science has never been, what was it? A force for evil. Science is not a force for anything. Science is a tool. Science has never been a force for evil. Faith often has been. Faith has, and well, in this case we'll equate it with religious faith, with Christian faith, has often mandated evil. And used science to do it, or not. But maybe the book will be better than this. In Good Faith is an accessible but thoroughly researched rebuttal to the simplifications of the new atheists through a re-examination of the relationship of faith, science, and ethics. The author draws mainly on his Jewish perspective, but the book is enhanced by in-depth discussions of global religious traditions and explorations of psychology, history, and philosophy with Christian, Muslim, and Jewish clergy and scholars. This book argues that atheists and believing Christians, Muslims, and Jews actually share a commitment to reason and moral progress. Exploring this often misunderstood concept, In Good Faith offers an ethics for the 21st century for people of all persuasions. Okay. Atheism is not a persuasion. Atheism is a state of not being persuaded. Atheism is not a religion. Atheism is not a persuasion. It is a state of not being persuaded. Anyway, okay, all right. Well, it's August 8th that is the release date for this, so I need to do this right away. I will read this tonight. I can't possibly wait any longer because August is fading, and as unbelievable as that is, August is fading. Now we'll do 2 more here, and then we'll be done. You've had your fill of rants for today, so let's see here. What is this next one? Oh, okay. I think we saw this already. Did we see this already on this channel? I think we did. Maybe we saw it in the catalog. No pub sheet, but this is by Garrett Peck. This is The Great War in America, World War I and its aftermath. And this is the Great War's bitter outcome left the experience largely overlooked and forgotten in American history. This timely book is a re-examination of America's first global experience as we commemorate World War I's centennial, and of course the biggest aftermath of World War I. This book, I think, argues that the biggest aftermath of World War I was a huge movement of isolationism on the part of American populace and American politics. Just a desire to pull inward, away from that contact with the larger world. But the much bigger impact was the flu. Thousands of there's destruction going on in the background. Thousands of fatal flu outbreaks took place, and they spread all over the world. because troops were being demobilized, because populations were, because, as I was saying, because populations were being displaced. But we'll have to see. I haven't read this yet. If I have an advanced copy, I haven't got to it. I can't remember if we saw an advanced copy or a catalog copy. But anyway, we'll do this. It's perfectly fine by me if she enjoys herself, but we're clearly going to have a conversation about thrashing open packages before I get to them. We can't have that. I'm not gonna slink off to a publicist and say, "Could you send me another copy because my dog ate it?" Anyway, what is this? Oh, fantastic! Oh my! All right, this is due in December. We end on a high note. This is The Deadly Deep by Ian Ballantine. This is a history of submarine warfare. Look at the size of that thing. Oh. A fascinating and comprehensive account of how an initially ineffective underwater boat, originally derided and loathed in equal measure, evolved into the most powerful and terrifying vessel ever invented, with enough destructive power to end all life on Earth. Ballantine considers the key episodes of submarine warfare and vividly describes the stories of brave individuals who have risked their lives under sea, often with fatal consequences. His analysis of underwater conflict begins with Archimedes discovering the principle of buoyancy. Our clandestine journey then moves through the centuries and focuses on prolific characters with deathly motives, including David Bushnell, who devised the first combat submarine with an idea of attacking the British. Today, nuclear-powered submarines are among the most complex, costly ships in existence. Armed with nuclear weapons, they have the ability to destroy millions of lives. They are the most powerful warships ever created. At the heart of this thrilling narrative lurks danger and power as we discover warfare's murkiest secrets. I'm on board. All right, so this will probably be the last really big history that I read in 2018. But that's great. That comes out in December. All right, so The Deadly Deep. I want to read it now, but I can't. I have too much to read. Then The Great War in America. 2 great books from Pegasus. They're such a great publishing house. 2 great works of history. Really, really fascinating to read. Then In Good Faith by Scott Shea. An attempt to square the circle of the Abrahamic religions and science and atheism. And Deep Creek by Pam Houston. Just essays and reflections on her life in the wilderness with her dogs. And that's it. That's it for this little brief hot summer mail haul. Now I've got to go and do a huge amount of cleaning up. The floor of my room looks like there was a ticker tape parade. But at the center of all of that destruction is a very happy little miniature schnauzer, so I can't really complain. So I'll wrap this up, but I'll see you soon. Thank you, BookTube.